Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Avid Bookshop. We have plenty of room up here. As anyone who's been here before knows, this is, and you can tell, it's a tiny space, but we're all comfortable squeezing in together. So come on in. There's some standing room up here. And for people who are comfortable being cross-legged, you can even come over here into this little corner. My name is Janet. I'm the owner of Avid Bookshop. I haven't even counted the number of Newtown reviews that we've had, but we've had a lot at this point. We should count.
I was totally thinking that today.
Yeah, so Deirdre and Al, their very first Newtown review was October 20th, 2011, the night that Avid Bookshop opened. And it's been a really great partnership all along. They have an amazing talent for finding really great, innovative writers and performers to come in and play for us and read for us. It's always a really entertaining evening. I'm glad you guys are here. Before we get started, I always want to point out a couple of events that any particular crowd might really be interested in. So for this particular crowd, people who came out tonight for the Newtown Review, we have two events coming up that I think you would really especially be interested in. The first one is on Wednesday, February 12th. It's here at the Bookshop in just a few days. Molly Antipal was named recently one of the 5 under 35 to watch by the National Book Foundation. She's an incredible writer. This is her first big book. It's out with Norton. It's a collection of short stories. And just to read you one of the many incredible blurbs she has for her book, Jesmyn Ward, who wrote Salvage the Bones and won the National Book Award, said, "It's clear we're in the hands of a master storyteller, a writer with the emotional heft of Nicole Krauss, the intellectual depth of Sal Bello, and the penetrating wit of Philip Roth." Everyone I know who's read this is completely in love with it. A lot of people think this is going to win major awards. She's having one stop in all of Georgia, and that's here on Wednesday the 12th, so I hope that you will come. And the other event that I want to tell you guys about is on February 22nd. It's at Athens Cine, downtown. The author of this book, Robert Gordon, he wrote Respect Yourself, Stax Records, and the Soul Explosion. It's a complete history of Stax Records. It's fascinating from so many points of view, whether or not you're a Stax Records fan, if you just want to know about African American history, music history, the South. This book is phenomenal. So we're going to be screening the documentary, having a reception with the author, signing the book, and Patterson Hood of the Drive-By Truckers is going to have a little conversation with Robert Gordon too. So it's going to be a really great night. We have information on all of these, where bookseller Frankie is at the counter. We have a little handout with upcoming events. And finally, speaking of upcoming events, a lot of people who come to our events are still not on our mailing list. So as a way to encourage you to be, all of you, we would hope for you to fill this out. It has your name and a space for your name and a space for your email. If you fill it out and leave it in the little coffee can at the counter, we're going to do a drawing at the end of the evening. We have a bunch of awesome 2014 calendars that we just marked out. We only had a handful left. They're not in the sales floor anymore, but they're brand new, plastic sealed, and we'd like to give them to you. They're really adorable. So fill your name out. Even if you're already on the list, you can enter, put it in the coffee can, and you might win. So thank you for listening to me. Without further ado, this is Deirdre Sugiuchi, and she's going to introduce our evening.
Thank you, Janet. We really appreciate everybody here at Avid Bookshop for your support of this series. I'm very excited about our readers tonight, especially our first reader is Scott Daughtridge. He's here from Atlanta. It's fun to have Scott because he runs a reading series in Atlanta called Lost in the Letters, and last fall they put on this amazing literary conference, and they're already beginning planning for one in November, which I hope a lot of you would attend. Scott has had work published in a wide variety of publications, and it's all linked on our site. And without further ado, welcome. Please come on up, Scott Daughtridge.
Brother Ali. Brother Ali. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Rhymesayer says rhymes. Brother Ali. Brother Ali says the truth is here. Brother Ali says Allahu Akbar. Brother Ali says us. Brother Ali says peace, little Rodney. Brother Ali says there is mourning in America. Brother Ali says Uncle Sam, goddamn. Brother Ali says the truth is here. And Brother Ali says welcome. Welcome to the United Snakes. United Snakes, where the dollar is sacred and power is God. Welcome to the United Snakes. Welcome to the United Snakes. The United Snakes. I like that. How true. Brother Ali for president. He's wearing a Nina Simone t-shirt, and the opening lines are a reference to her song, Mississippi Goddamn. Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred and power is God. That's called freedom of speech. I quoted him because it's the most respectful way to talk about someone else's business. This man deserves a lot more recognition. All must bow to the fat and the lazy, the fuck you obey me, and why do they hate me? The words I posted were straight from Ali's mouth, truth to the core. My crew boss blasted this song as we were rolling up to a Box Springs fire. Truth be truth, even when preached from the realest albino in the game. Potheads know the truth. Technically, he's albino. He's human. So this guy's a black albino? No, he isn't, but who the fuck cares? I reckon Brother Ali would be mad humble. Those are just the facts. Public Enemy brought me here. Public Enemy brought me here too. 239 sheep dislike this song. 239 politicians dislike this song. There are many rappers that stand for something. Rappers are people too. Use the internet and you can find out lots of information. Just enjoy the music, no need to fight. This has been flagged as spam. I'd be angry too if I had some real shit to say and nobody was listening. So that was all that was comprised of comments that were on the YouTube video for Brother Ali's song called Uncle Sam Goddamn. I'm gonna read something really random. I run a reading series like Deirdre said, and I also am the host of a website now, which is exciting because it's 2014 and people have been doing that for a long time. But so I have a section on my website where I just kind of put a bunch of random stuff that kind of comes up. And one is I don't have a dog. I'm lazy and I'm poor and kind of stupid. So me being in charge of another being's existence probably isn't the best idea. But I oftentimes imagine what it would be like if I did have a dog. And so I come up with like little situations where my Rottweiler, which it would be named Marvin Berry, him and I hang out. Marvin Berry is Chuck Berry's cousin, in case you didn't know from Back to the Future. But so I update these sometimes. So if you want to check them out, it's notmuchisreallysacred.com. So there's the plug. I was gone for a long time today, and Marvin Berry shit in the middle of the rug in my living room. I wondered if it was a revenge shit, his form of protest for me being gone so long. I said, "God damn it, Marvin Berry, you shit on the rug again." Then I wonder if maybe he just really had to take a dump and he couldn't help it. I considered rubbing his nose in it, but decided against that because then I have to clean the shit off the rug and his nose. Either way, I didn't stay mad at him very long because his eyes are kind of crossed, and you can't stay mad very long at anything or anyone with crossed eyes. I could hear Marvin Berry barking even before I got to my door. I feel bad he has to stay confined to my apartment all day while I'm not home. If he were in the wilderness on his own, I wonder if he would survive. He'd probably join up with a pack of dogs and live on the outskirts of the city, moving in and out of abandoned buildings, living off dumpster trash and hobos. His jowls would be stained red, his fur would be matted, he'd shiver in the cold, and so would the dozens of babies he'd have to care for. Maybe he's content to stay in my apartment and wait for me, sterile and warm. The scratch marks on the doors and window sills show his battle with insanity. Blood and tear stains on my pillowcase and bathtub show mine. When I hug Marvin Berry, I can feel his heartbeat. I hope he can feel mine too. Come on, Marvin Berry, I say, let's go on a walk and put on brave faces. He knows the word walk, and he barks and shakes his stump tail wildly. Marvin Berry needs to be neutered. His sex drive makes my friends uncomfortable. Nobody ever lets him hump their legs until he's done. Sometimes I do, but my friends aren't around to see that. When Marvin Berry was a puppy, he would stare at a grease stain on the wall for hours. occasionally whining or barking. I'd try to drag him away, but he'd immediately return to the same spot as soon as he got away from me. So I said fuck it and let him stare at the wall. I never knew how the grease stain got there or why he was so interested in it. Without a vacuum or a broom in my apartment, everything is being covered in Marvin Berry's shed fur. It looks like the floor, the couch, my clothes are sprouting fur and slowly becoming Marvin Berry. Soon the space will be a breathing beast with its own heart and set of bloody teeth ready to consume me. Marvin Berry was having severe spasms in his back legs, so I took him to the vet and they prescribed him methocarbamol, a muscle relaxer for dogs. After a few days, he seemed better, and the vet said he could stop taking the medication. Instead of letting those expensive-ass pills go to waste, I had some people over, and we crushed them up and snorted them. That was a weird night. I feel so boring when Marvin Berry stares at me, expecting me to do something fun, something more interesting that will make him happy, that will help him discover something fascinating about the world. Instead, I just tell him to shut up, and I keep reading my book, and he eventually falls asleep. So I've actually read, this is my third time reading it at Avid. So thanks to Avid staff and for having me here 3 times. That's got to be some kind of record or something. And thanks to Deirdre for having me. I really appreciate it. The second time I came here was for a tour that I went on with 2 other Atlanta-based writers named Matt DeBenedictis and John Carroll. And while we went on tour, we printed up this little publication just to sell. So I'm going to read something out of that. And it's not anywhere online or anything like that, so yeah, I don't know. You might never see this again. It's called Steel and Flesh. All the bags were packed. I had selected the shirts, pants, and shoes I thought would blend in with the Paris streets. My wife, Marianne, a light packer, made fun of me for caring so much about the clothes I was bringing. But she let me off the hook because she knew my excitement, and she knew my head tingled with the thoughts of exploring the boulevards, avenues, and alleys. I was even looking forward to seeing the trash, the discarded remnants of a foreign culture that to me were exotic artifacts. Soon, we'd be sitting in the cafes, not in the tourist neighborhoods, but in the out-of-the-way, unknown streets, where the locals breathe French air, not clouded by the air that's not in the air clouded by the American cigarette smoke in the city center. We requested off of work, made arrangements with the dog sitter, and told Julie's swim instructor that she had missed 2 classes. Julie practiced the French vocabulary tape for beginners for 3 weeks. Marianne and I listened to Serge Gainsbourg, Brigitte Fontaine, Francois Hardy records. We had small conversations in French, pretending we were ordering at a restaurant, or looking for one another, pretending that we were strangers. We laughed and kissed and hugged, and were glad that we could do these things without feeling like we were fooling ourselves or lying to each other, which was not the case for longer than we could admit. This vacation, I told myself, was a celebration of letting the past die without going back to inspect the remains. Moving forward together, creating new stories, and drawing a new map that led us to places yet unseen. 3 days before we were supposed to leave, Julie had a swim lesson and woke up in the middle of the night complaining that her ear ached. "There's stuff coming out of it," Julie said. A tinge of pain in her voice tickled the darkness of our room. Marianne turned the bedside light on and reached for her hand. "Let me see, Julie." My eyes were still adjusting to the light, but I could see the pus on her fingers. Marianne helped her back to bed and sat with her holding a tissue to her ear. The next day, I drove Julie to the doctor, who diagnosed it as a standard ear infection, wrote us a prescription, and told Julie to keep her ear dry. Be sure to stay off airplanes, too," the doctor said with a smile as she scribbled some notes into her folder. My brow furrowed. "Really?" I asked. I swallowed a mouth of dryness. Adrenaline flowed through me. "Are you serious?" "Oh, yes," she said. "My sister flew with a slight ear infection, and she had said she had vertigo. She was nauseous the whole flight. For weeks afterwards, she complained of tinnitus. The change in pressure can be brutal on the ear. Why? Are you planning a trip?" When I told Marianne what the doctor said, we agreed to postpone the trip until Julie's ear healed. The airline let us change the date to the following month, and I had and I had to, at its best as I could, I had to act as well as I could so Julie wouldn't get upset. I knew it wasn't her fault, but still, she was the reason that we had to stay. On July 17th, the day we originally planned to leave, the plane tickets antagonized me from the dresser. I looked at them like they were lottery tickets with only one wrong number. I did the yard work that I was looking forward to skipping, and caught up on some freelance grant writing I had planned to put off. Before I knew it, the sun was down. It was 9 o'clock. Time for Julie to take her medicine before bed. The plane is in the air right now, I thought, looking at the tickets on the dresser. The humming of the engines was in my ears. I could feel the plane lifting from the ground and could see the lights of the city fading in the darkness, in the dark land below. Without realizing, I placed a ticket in my pocket and walked to the kitchen. Passing through the living room, I saw Mary Ann, frozen, staring at the TV, a coffee mug laid at her feet, shattered into dozens of pieces. "Mary, are you okay? What's wrong?" On the TV screen, there were what appeared to be glowing embers swaying in the wind of a black night. On the bottom of the screen, I saw the MSNBC graphic. Live, it read, Moriches Bay Inlet, New York, Chopper 4. "So again, if you're just joining us," Brian Williams said, "we have breaking news that a 747 carrying 212 passengers and 17 or 18 crew members exploded in midair about 25 miles off the coast of New York's Long Island." He held up a paper map, Rand McNally, and pointed to the water with a black pen. "As stated earlier, we have confirmed that this is Trans World Airline flight bound for Paris, which had departed from JFK around 8 o'clock this evening. At this point, there has been no comment or speculation as to the cause of the explosion." The voice faded. My vision blurred. My body became paralyzed. A black hole opened inside my head, and all of reality was being sucked down to where my breath could not catch up. Like the coffee mug on the floor, I shattered. My hands grabbed onto my hair and rubbed my skin, but I could not feel them. On the ticket in my hand, the black numbers were printed clearly. Trans World Airlines, Flight 800, Gate 50, Seat 23A. Seat 23A was a glowing piece of debris floating in the ocean at the moment. The entire ocean was steel and flesh. We sat silently and watched experts, analysts, speculators, reporters, representatives, and witnesses speak about what they thought had happened. Faulty wires, terrorists, gas tanks, old plane, fireball, explosion, burning, Atlantic Ocean, TWA, Paris, Paris, Paris. These words flew around until they were brittle and cracking in my brain. Somewhere in Paris, I thought, someone was caught in the rain without an umbrella and laughed just as I would have. So the last thing I'm going to read, thanks again you all for coming out. I appreciate it. Thanks again for hosting me. I have a chapbook coming out through a small press in Atlanta called Lame House Press. They've been focusing mostly on poetry for the last couple of years. I'm actually going to be their first prose project, which is exciting. So basically the project is it's a series of diary excerpts that I wrote when I was in high school. It follows me and 4 of my friends, Rob, Brendan, Phil, and Billy. I've known them basically all since I was very young, and this is during our high school age when we were, doing a lot of kind of high school stuff. So yeah, that'll be coming out in late April or May, I believe, so you guys can take a look out for that if you want. April 21st, 2002. I think my mom has gone crazy. I turned my phone off last night when I was at Sasha's house and said, "Fuck it, I'll deal with it in the morning." I've left too many parties when they're starting to get fun because of my lame-ass curfew. Nobody else has to be home at 11:30. I figured it'd be worth it to see this one through because yesterday was 4/20, Sasha's mom is out of town, and the weather is starting to get nice. A lot of people were rolling and drinking and doing coke. There were about 6 of us about to pass out in Sasha's mom's room around 3 when someone came to the door and told me my mom was outside. "How the fuck did you get here?" I asked her. She said she was driving around where she thought I would be, saw a car of young people, which was actually Callie and Sasha, and followed them. When they pulled up to the house, she asked them if I was there. I told her that's the craziest shit I've ever heard. She asked, "What am I supposed to do? Go to sleep and wait until I get a call from the police or the morgue?" Obviously I'm in deep shit, but the party was pretty fun. Phil pretended to bite into a wood decorative apple and chipped half his front tooth off. Brendan found the half tooth and threw it in the garbage disposal, told Phil it's what he'd get for being an idiot. Phil's tooth whistled for the rest of the night. So the ones I'm reading tonight actually all include my friend Phil, who is an idiot. He was born in Spain, moved to the United States, lived in Valdosta until he was in high school. When we met him, if you know anything about Valdosta, it's a very country place at times, so that's the place where he learned to speak English, so his English is funny and kind of messed up. But he met my friend Rob. They actually, the neighborhood that my friend Rob lives in has a very large cemetery, and Phil was friends with this kid that we buy acid from, and they all hung out in the cemetery for a night and tripped on acid, and they became really good friends, and then so we all became really good friends and whatever. So May 8th, 2002. I had an extreme trip last weekend with Rob, Brendan, and Phil. We all ate 2 hits each and drove around the mall. It rained nonstop. Not one element of that day lent itself to being a good day to trip, but we did it anyway. We got caught in mall traffic right next to an advertisement truck that had an anti-abortion ad on it, showing the picture of a dead fetus in a trash bag. It was too much for us, and Todd tried to get away from it, but no matter how hard we tried to fight through the traffic, it was always right beside us. I have no idea how Rob got us through that, but he did. July 8th, 2002. Brendan went out of town with his family for the 4th of July. Billy and I broke into his house, and we all lived and partied there for 3 days. Will, who's homeless now, came over and did laundry, fucked his girlfriend loudly in Brendan's mom's bed. We didn't care. We were faded, watching Requiem for a Dream on repeat. After the movie ended, Phil asked, "Isn't it great how everything works out so perfectly in the end?" I asked Phil if he was fucking retarded. He said, "I don't know." Rob drove to Eckerd and tried to break in to steal pills from the pharmacy. He tripped the silent alarm, and after they pumped his stomach, they took him to jail. Good thing he's a minor. None of us knew where he was. I figured he had gone home or something. We left Brendan's house a wreck. His mom said she never wanted to see us again. She told my mom, and my mom asked me, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know." August 17th, 2002. Rob hasn't been hanging out with us much. He'd rather hang out with some kid named Mike. I wonder if Mike knows that Rob tried to kill himself. I wonder if there's anyone that doesn't know that. Phil said that if Rob really wanted to die, that he would have shot himself or hung himself. He wouldn't have taken pills. Pills never work, Phil said. I asked Phil how the fuck he knew, and he just said, "Because, dude." That's Phil's response for too many things. The thing about Phil is that he's an idiot, but he's also really confident. Like what he's doing is the only thing that could possibly be done, even though it's the stupidest possible option. That's a dangerous mix, stupidity and confidence. I wonder how long it'll be until it bites him in the ass. I wonder how long it'll be until it bites one of us in the ass and he gets away scot-free. Phil and Brendan wanted to go to Best Buy yesterday, and I said I couldn't go because they caught me trying to steal a CD there the other week. Phil said they had probably forgotten all about it. Still, I waited outside the store and smoked a cigarette. After a few minutes, one of the employees came out and said that I wasn't allowed on the premises. I don't know how they saw me outside. I guess they have cameras out there too. I told him I wasn't going in the store, and he said that the sidewalk was still considered their premises. He said if I didn't leave that they would call the police. I had an eighth of weed in my pocket, so I apologized and waited by the car. Thank fucking Jesus I didn't listen to Phil. October 12th, 2003. Meth tastes like shit. Phil does it so much now, he said he's come to like the taste. We did it last weekend at the mall. God have mercy on the poor fuckers that get caught up in that shit. After Phil, Brendan and I snorted a couple lines, we walked around the mall for a while. At first I felt dizzy, like I was on the tilt-a-whirl, and wavered between wanting to vomit and cry. But then I felt that good old euphoric feeling take over. My head was tingling, my heart was pumping light and fast. My eyes were open wide, and talking made my face feel so good. I don't want to do it all the time, but I can see how people get caught up in it. It's more intense than Coke and a hell of a lot cheaper. But there are too many people that start to turn green after a while, like the chemicals are pulling their dead souls through their skin. There are too many people that pretend the sores on their face or their hands aren't there. There are too many people like Phil who say they love it, and that makes me worry because by the time they start to hate it, it'll be wrapped up around their brains and they won't be able to put it down. I didn't say any of this to Phil because I didn't want to bring him down. I wanted us to feel the goodness of it all. We can talk about the bad things later. For the time, I just wanted to enjoy walking around the mall with my friends. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. That was lovely. Next up, Melanie. Melanie Morgan's gonna play a song. Melanie, I've known Melanie for years, but she also plays in Between Neighbors, and she's been doing some solo stuff too.
I can sit?
If you want.
Yeah.
Just for
I
you.
want to sit, yeah, so instead. Alright, well, thanks for having me. This is my first time, and it's great. I really enjoyed it. Let's see. That's okay, it's fine. I mean, let's see, that's probably good. Okay. Okay, so the song, I play one song, right? Okay.
You can play one later.
This song is inspired by undocumented students here in Georgia, and it's called Gateway. What would you do if you had no home to call your own? What would you do if you had no roots, 'cause they cut them off long time ago? You are free to go wherever you want to be. But once you cross the border, you cannot come back to me. Yeah, once you cross this border, you can never come back to me. Have you ever heard the phrase, if you don't like it here, why don't you go back to your own place? Have you ever heard them say, you don't belong, you take our jobs and we don't want you to stay? But what would you do if you had no home to call your own? And what would you do if you had no roots to cut them off long time ago? Say I leave to a land that I have never been. Say I leave to a place that I have never seen. Say I leave my family and friends and everything I know. Say I leave my life behind because you want me to go. But what would you do if you had no home to call your own? And what would you do if you had no roots, 'cause they cut them off long time ago? You are free to go wherever you wanna be. once you cross the border, you cannot come back to me. Yeah, once you cross this border, you can never come back to me.
Thanks so much, Melanie. So when me and Deirdre first were talking about starting Newtown Revue, it was right before I moved back to Athens, and one of the things we were sort of concerned about was how when you're a writer, you're just so anonymous, or you had been that way in Athens for a long time. I've had people I've known for 10 years before we even realized we were both writers, as opposed to musicians who know within 5 seconds. And we were maybe a little jealous of that community. And then, then Janet opened this wonderful bookstore, and UGA's creative writing program really took off, and we've got a lot of reading series going on now, like Vox and the Avid poetry series, and all the great people they bring in here. And so I was over at Daily, I guess it was a couple months ago, we were trying to figure out who was going to read next, and I just ran into Gabrielle Fuentes, who I happen to know is a writer. And when I did that, and I asked her if she would read, she said, of course, yes. And I guess it's nice because we knew each other as writers because of this space, actually. And it's kind of nice that we don't have to be secret anymore if we don't want to. So next we'll have Gabrielle Fuentes. She is in the creative writing PhD in fiction at the University of Georgia. Thanks.
Thanks to Al and to Deirdre especially, and also to Scott and Melanie. Can everyone hear me? Does it need to be louder?
Yeah,
okay.
Bring it up a little.
Okay. Here?
Yeah,
Good? Live crate. 3 chickens gone in a week from North Country Farm and Bakery's hen house. Una was livid, twitching her braid and flaring her nostrils as she wiped down the cafe's counter. A horse girl, Alma's roommates at UW-Madison Law would have called her, although Alma couldn't think of a single youngish woman in Sawyer County who didn't in some way qualify for that appellation. Must have been something to get over your fences, Alma said. Una snorted and wiped a smudge off of the display window. I found it! Susie, Una's mother, pushed into the cafe holding a dead chicken. Seeing Alma, she tried to hide the hen behind her back while keeping it as far from her body as possible. Oh, geez, I didn't think anyone was in here. Even with the furlough of most state and government workers, the cafe was empty. The economy, Una said, but Alma knew that wasn't it. The economy in the North Woods of Wisconsin was always bad. I don't mind a dead chicken, Alma said. I was just going to get a scone. Susie swung the chicken in front of her, launching its speckled feathers into the air. What do you think did it, Alma? Ma, Una hissed. Just asking. Alma's from around here. Plus she was married to Dale Sobieski. Maybe you could get him to help us out, huh? Ma, Una said. Dale's number is in the phone book, Alma said. I do not have his cell anymore. She turned to look at the chalkboard that listed the baked goods of the day. The deep freezer with the farm lamb, chicken, and pork kicked into gear, buzzing louder than the coffee maker. Alma had an idea of what was getting the chickens if, as Uma had said, there were no foxholes or bent wire. But she'd rather them call Dale. It would get him out of his own woods and maybe even a paycheck. It was her first thought, and she knew it. What good Dale could get out of a situation. That other reaction, her defenses bristling at his name, her carefully crafted nowhere Midwest accent dropping, had lasted only a few months after their separation. Looking out for him seemed natural in the end. Here's your scone, Alma. Ma, get that chicken out of here. What if someone comes in? Susie slammed the door behind her. Una raced around the counter, trying to catch the chicken feathers before they fell on the reclaimed wood floor. I wish someone would come, She cupped the feathers in her hands like they were fireflies. "This place took so long to build." "You know that's how it is up here," Alma said. "They follow their own clock." "You don't," Una said. Outside, Susie turned and, grinning, shook the chicken at Alma. "Yeah," Alma said, "but I was gone a long time." A thin skin of ice entrenched the edges of the lake, crackling brightly beneath Alma's canoe paddles. Breaking glass, but breaking sweetly, a little song you could swallow. The leaves had dropped into the water, joining the ice. They would stay there all winter until the thaw sunk them to the bottom or carried them downstream to melt apart on the rapids below the bridge. Alma hadn't been able to stop thinking about her cases at the Bureau of Indian Affairs that the furlough had put a stop to, each file unprofessionally frozen, eyes still open in the amber. She had visited a couple of clients and explained, for the 1,000th time, the repetition of centuries, just what the government was incapable of doing for them at this juncture. Then she went out on the lake. The 2 geese flew through the narrows, under the telephone wires with their orange buoys to alert aircraft that never came. Their wings, exaggerated frowns, skimmed the water. Water the same dark, dark brown as midsummer, its color not really altered, but seeming so. Years ago, Alma had touched the lake bottom and been shocked. It wasn't solid at all. She could have just kept sinking until her air ran out. "I have chickens of my own, Dale," Alma recited over the phone. Though they lived only a few yards from each other, part of the moderation deal, their relationship being too volatile, was that they only speak over the phone. Alma sighed through his explanation, sad he'd called about work, happy he'd called at all, and letting in a little hopeful something that it wasn't just about work, that since it was about animals, there was another possibility, though everything Dale did was about animals. "I don't think it's a big cat either. Probably a bobcat. No, I'm not even letting a hypothetical one on my property. Why don't you just wait until you catch it to figure out where you're going to release it? I don't care if there's only one of them. Look, I saw what damage they did to their hens, and I don't have fences like theirs. I lose 3 hens, I won't have any left. And your property is too close to my property, Dale. Try telling a bobcat to respect the stipulations of a moderated divorce." But Dale had already hung up. He usually used the first no as a sort of goodbye, not giving one himself. "Shithead," Alma said and threw her cell against the wall. If she aimed it just right, it stuck sideways between the egg cartons and the foam insulation Dale had lined the school bus with before he moved out. That way, if he called again, she could barely hear it, but the vibrations would rattle the metal, making her feel like she was tucked inside a giant industrial hive. But that afternoon, Dale's truck was pulled up behind North Country Cafe with 2 live crates in the back. Una met Alma at the door and said they were kind of closed because no one had been there all day, but she could come out back and see. Dale stood next to Susie, who wore a purple polar fleece hat pulled almost over her eyes. Their boots circled a scuffle of gore and feathers in the early melting snow. Another dead chicken, about 100 feet from the coop. Susie had heard the hens when she was moving the sheep, but whatever was after them had fled long before she got there. The acrid smell of the hen's anxiety hovered, stuck still in the fog. Dale kneeled down and pointed to the tracks that led first towards the coop, then the dead chicken, and then, almost daintily, off into the woods. "I'll set the trap out, Susie. I can even use this chicken as bait," Dale said. Seeing Alma, he made a quick, tight wave, comical because of his big hands, and mouthed hello. Dale interpreted the moderation differently at different moments, and Alma never knew which of his readings she would have to live through. He looked back at Alma, pointed to the carcass, the fence, then slowly to himself. It made Alma feel as if they were actors, trying to get through the business of their life in the long, sinister pauses of a Pinter play. Dale measured the length of the paw prints with his fingers, and then kicked a clump of scat a few paces away. "I told you it was a bobcat," he said. Alma swore at the sky. At Dix's chalet, a crowd was building. Alma had tried to get Una to come out with her, but Una was weaving a tapestry on her loom, a recreation of a giant unicorn from some medieval cloisters. So Alma, again, was the only woman at Dix's, except for Bernie behind the bar, protected by 2 feet of oak and her many decades of service. Years ago, when Alma had first moved back to Sawyer County, she'd come to Dix's as if believing it would be different from when she left, but it was the same. Realtree camo and hunter orange, clumps of county workers, the various unemployed. "It's like Egypt around here," she joked to Bernie. "Nowhere for a woman to sit out in public. Might as well be wearing a burqa." "I wouldn't," Bernie had said. No one had remembered her at first. She'd dropped 30 pounds in Madison and cut her hair to frame her face. They thought she was a tourist, or lost. Until Dale walked in, no one had said anything to her. But Dale remembered. He showed her off even that first night. "Yous guys, look here. You'll never guess who round her way back home." If she could go back, would she have stayed in Madison, not hid her engagement ring when Dale asked if she'd met anyone downstate, returned Raymond's phone calls, said no to the job at the BIA, walked right out the door when she saw Dale enter? At each choice would she have reversed, peeled out, making of that future an empty loon call hovered over a glass lake? She saw in her mind the map of her given, then chosen homeland, sliding sideways and interactive. All the ways she could have not ended up here, marches represented in green and pawns of blue they'd never be. Yet she couldn't see a way where her stone didn't skip down the lines of stools, threatening to collapse under fried cheese curd and bratwurst stretched asses until she landed belly up in the water that brought Dale through the door. Which he was coming through again, even though Dix's was hers, the supper club in Ojibwa his. Yet Dale forgot certain things, or believed them not to apply to him, or believed, as Alma increasingly worried, that the years between her and him, between him taking her around that first night and their decision to separate had never happened, that he saw her each time, elbows at the bar, for the first time. "Here comes trouble," one of the dart players behind her yelled, diverting Dale from her line of sight but still within hearing. "What you got there? Oh, geez, Dale, what you got?" The men sidled up to him, leaning in close to his jacket and cackling, then calling more of their buddies over. "Watch out now, eh? It'll get you. Oh, for cute, it's just a kitten. Look at dem claws, no. That's no kitten there, no. Alma, you seen?" "Oh, sorry." Everyone acted like it was still some big deal when Alma and Dale were in the same room together, that Alma might break if someone broke it to her. If she could have, she wished she had, a long time ago. Something broken wasn't something people talked about in company. "Another beer, please, Bernie," Alma said, and got off her stool to see what Dale had brought in this time. He wore his Carhartt jacket, the one he'd had long before they got together, pockets worn through the top layers and prone to flapping when there was a breeze. The zipper was pulled down halfway. The men peered into the opening, dark from the bar and their own shadows, but with something moving in the depths. "She's from the litter I found last month down Clover Road," Dale said. He scratched his beard, untrimmed, but at least clean. "Her mom been hit, and I had to wean them." A cougar cub peeked out of Dale's jacket, opened its mouth to reveal a pink tongue and teeth already as big as Alma's. Its skin was still loose and kitten-like, but Alma knew what it would become, the havoc it would wreak on furniture and books when it got into heat, just exactly what it was capable of destroying. "Looks like our little guy did, don't it, Alma?" Dale said. "They say all babies look the same." "Here's your lineies, Alma." "I'll close out now, Bernie. You can have that one yourself." New snow fell, setting off the motion sensor lights someone left plugged in when they locked the BIA building for the furlough. The lights had turned on when Alma pulled into the parking lot, but she hadn't moved for a half hour at least. The inside of the building was dark. Only the green lights of monitors and red exit signs visible. A fox, spooked by the light, stared at its reflection in the black window, then lowered its ears and neck, and retreated into the forest. Alma couldn't remember getting there, though she'd had only 2 beers at Dix's. She'd just gotten into the car and drove, same as she would so many nights before the furlough, to get ahead with her caseload or to avoid Dale. A pair of chickadees flew into their nest underneath the motion lights. Alma had wanted to move the nest when she first found it, but didn't know if the birds would return. The light went off in the middle of the night for reasons as various as the beginning of a storm or the vibrations of a bough dropping. It didn't wake the chickadees anymore. But in the spring, when there were eggs, and the eggs hatched, their chicks would be illuminated sporadically at night and open their mouths, thinking morning had come. The bobcat, when Dale brought it, was so different from the cougar cub curled up in his Carhartt. The cub had wildness to it, drawing blood from a buddy's outstretched finger, but it had purred, allowed itself to be handled. It managed its wildness as the tribal counselor managed its forests, seeming to gain more from its tampering than it lost in its surrender. The bobcat was only wild. It snarled in the live crate, trapped and all the more vicious for it. From the dashboard of the school bus, Alma watched Dale unload the crate. He held it up in front of him and looked at Alma. What could or couldn't he say, muffled by the snow and the cracked windshield? Alma pulled on her boots and walked out towards him. The bobcat paced the crate, watching them both. I don't know where else to bring it, Alma. Anywhere else and it might get shot. My chickens, Dale. I got the stuff in the back of the car to make it foolproof. I promise. I got it right back there. Alma stepped closer to the crate. The bobcat arched its back and shrunk into the far corner. Its speckled gray and black fur pressed against the wiring. Its tail snuck through the cage and grazed the snow. The bobcat wasn't much bigger than a house cat, but its face was a lion's, cold green, impervious to Alma's. It's the runt, I think, Dale said. Couldn't catch the mom yet. It'll get bigger. Dale brought the crate to the edge of the tree line and set it down. He picked up a long stick, fallen from an oak nearby, and tripped the lock. They both backed away. But the bobcat didn't notice the crate door opening. It kept snarling and wouldn't budge. I was worried about this, Dale said. With the stick, he tilted the crate up, trying to spill the cat out onto the snow. The bobcat hissed, reaching its claws through the crate, swiping at Dale. It bit the stick, gnawed on the metal frame, but for all its straining, it was no closer to Dale, no closer to getting out. The setting sun hit the lake. Flashes of orange on the water, just visible through the black elms. Alma knelt down, level with the snarling cat, and Dale dropped the stick. The bobcat stilled. It pulled first one, then another tufted paw into the cage. But it kept its eyes on Alma and Dale, not daring to turn around and see the escape they'd made for it, not daring to run into the woods and disappear. The sun dipped behind the line of pines, the forest shades of brown, undifferentiated. Alma, Dale, and the bobcat fused to its cage, were backlit into 3 clumps of black clay, meaningless forms dropped in the snow. The crate door hung open, bare and stretched to the coming dark. Thank you.
Alright, thanks again for having me, and this was great. I definitely wrote my name in that little email bowl once I leave. It was hard for me to pick 3 songs, but it's Valentine's Day soon, and conveniently I wrote a love song for my husband for our 20th anniversary. So I'll just turn to a Valentine song.
We were young, often we went wrong. We had our doubt, and then we forgot what about. I must confess, sometimes we left a mess, but now it's clear why you're still here. 'Cause we will always be together, never mind the weather, whether it's rain or shine. Even when the sky is grey, I will never go away, and you will always be mine. I know that life is sometimes hard, and we all have to play our part, but you're the rock that I can hold on to. And I might not look that strong, but you know that I belong forever with you. Forever with you. We didn't have much of our own, and then our daughter was born. With that sometimes we stumbled and fell, but overall I think we did well. 'Cause mostly we had fun, playing on the beach in the sun. And now it's clear why you're still here. 'Cause we will always be together, never mind the weather, whether it's rain or shine. And even when the sky is grey, I will never go away, and you will always be mine. I know that life is sometimes hard, and we all have to play our part, but you're the rock that I can hold on to. And I might not look that strong, but you know that I belong forever with you. Forever with you. And as our family grew, we already knew that what we had would last. Just didn't think time would go so fast. I will hold your hand, walking till the end. 'Cause now it's clear why you're still here. 'Cause we will always be together, never mind the weather, whether it's rain or shine. Even when the sky is grey, I will never go away, and you will always be mine. I know that life is sometimes hard, and we all have to play our part, but you're the rock that I can hold on to. And I might not look that strong, but you know that I belong forever with you. Forever with you.
All right, last song. Not so serious. Some might take it serious. It's about shopping, and it's very short, so.
gotta go shopping for back to school, 'cause I want my kids to look cool. And while I'm there, I buy me a skirt. And hey, why not for my husband a shirt? I run to the store, 'cause I need more. I need more stuff. I can't get enough. I run to the sale and buy me some pens, and half price off some Christmas ornaments. That new toy, put that on my bill. Man, I still got a box in the car for goodwill. Still I run to the store, 'cause I want more. I want more stuff. Can't get enough. My favorite place is the second-hand store, 'cause for less money you can buy more. I have to admit, though the picking gets rough, I ended up buying back my own stuff. Still I run to the store, 'cause I want more. I want more stuff. I can't get enough. Now you might think that I have it all, but I've got a problem. My house is too small. Now what should I do in this particular case? Wait, I know I'll buy a bigger place, and now I run to the store, 'cause I need more. My brand new place has too much space.
Thanks again, Melanie and Gabrielle and Scott. It was amazing tonight. I also want to thank Beth Thrasher for doing our flyers, Bart LeMahieu for recording for us, and our intern, Erin Cheatham. She made us an amazing Tumblr. I don't even tumble that much. She did a great job. Check that out. And thanks, Al. Thanks, Janet. Thanks, Frankie. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Have a great night. Oh, one more thing. March 29th, we have a great event lined up. My friend Jeff Jackson, who wrote this book called Mira Corpora, was like on all the indie best of lists last year. He's reading with his friend Megan O'Shea, and also Jim Wilson is playing music, and we're very excited. That's Saturday, March 29th. So please come back for that. Here at Avid, yes. Yes.
Everyone should buy their lovers' books.
Yeah. Oh gosh, thank you. Yes. Books are the best present ever. Yes, and they build brains.
Especially if they're writers, support them.
Support Avid. Yes. So yes, please do that. And yeah. Anything else? Okay. Thanks again. Good night.